Mickey 17 was a movie that released in 2025 about a man who is consistently cloned and used as a living lab rat. It has themes of colonialism and genetic and where modern science and our world right now will take us. Obviously, some commentary on certain political figures as well, but the scientists in the movie are quickly to blow off the obvious biology of the existing aliens on the planet of Niflheim. So, the scientists blow off even the obvious biology of the creepers in that movie. Creepers, by the way, are the name of the aliens. They're also the name of Minecraft enemies, but still, with that, it's kind of obvious that what the creepers actually are, even with the few seconds of footage that you're given in the first part of that scene before they identify them. So it begs the question, one, what are the creepers' biology, even like from a basic standpoint? And two, what is the deeper question as to why they couldn't actually identify that, or even like quickly note that they're not harmful? So, to answer the first question, creepers, as shown, are almost like a tardigrade in a way, with like isopod and like feelers as well. So they have a heart as juveniles, they have a thick, fatty outer shell that hardens and grows hair over time. The bottom side of their body is almost hand-like in nature for the face, with eyes that are eye stalks that really come out to the outside. Their hands / faces are also go down the inside and outside of their bodies, forming little fingers in a sense. Almost feelers and tendrils in a way. They use the ends of their fingers, which have ends of their tendrils, which have claws on them, to bore through rock and ice, most likely to feed on microorganisms and nutrients that come from that as well. It is also shown that they were in the winter season of Niflheim, and were probably like a species that is used to building fat and sustaining it for a long amount of time, almost similar to camels and elephants. With that, it's kind of also seen that they're a very playful species, and that they get around through modes of both slow walking, like treading, along with rolling around like they're like roly-polies, honestly, so which is probably also inspiration. Once again, I know this is all obvious, but still begs the question as to why the scientists didn't step in and tell anyone besides, even if they know it themselves, and they tell anyone besides themselves or even Mickey, that they are essentially harmless. They did discover eventually that they can obviously bore through metal and rock and ice, but that's once again a fairly clear statement with how their faces are shaped and how their bodies are shaped. When they open their mouths, it's probably use the extra tentacles and tendrils to pull in any extra food and filter it out, eventually ingesting into their body and adding it to their mass. Which is once again how they use it to store fat and stuff above ground and stay warm throughout the winter season of Niflheim, which is already in a seemingly very cold planet, even during the springtime. Why is it that the scientists couldn't exactly identify that off rip? My best guess is that they chose scientists that are specifically willfully ignorant or genuinely don't understand like these common sense stuff. But I'm also not actually a scientist, so I don't know. I think that it's kind of obvious to tell what those are, and I'm pretty sure most of the audience as well could tell what those are off rip and know that they aren't harmful. And that the general overreaction comes from a fear of not being able to control it or not knowing things, which is why the one soldier, I forgot her name unfortunately, why she died. And with that, and because of that, the leader at the time, what's the guy's name? Mark Ruffalo's character, he ends up naming them and creating this whole campaign around how they're evil and they need to be destroyed and expunged. But something I've come to note is that he very quickly is like swayed or moved in how he's supposed to act and speak. Whether he needs to be calm or be hard or be aggressive or be commanding presence, and is always persuaded by the camera. And it's also been come to note that in the movie, there's also other colonies that exist and other expeditions. Not just to Niflheim, but to other planets as well. It's a planetary expedition, and Mickey just got on the last one of the season. And once again, which begs the question, what other planets are there? What other expeditions, what other colonies are there? And who's leading them? My hot take? Mark Ruffalo's character, who's so big on like being the one and only or whatever, I think he himself is a clone. I think he is a multiple, actually, a series of multiples that are sent with each colony, with, or at least the ones that they own through the church that exists, the church that exists in that universe, and he sent as that big figurehead, he wanted to be used as the figurehead and have control over them. With his wife Ilfa having the most influence over him, along with them having a more lavish cabin and everyone else having to deal with scraps. How can they afford to have this lavish cabin, these consistent roommates with... I know it was also seen that maybe the science department was working on like mass food production expansion with, you know, what other bio stuff they had, and from obviously the Mickey slop. I think the reason that Mark Ruffalo's character, who I'll eventually remember the name of hopefully, I feel that because of his general disdain for Mickey and his anti-artificial, anti-science nature as a whole, stems from a genuine fear, or like a subconscious fear, that he'll be found out as a clone, or that he himself is a series of multiples across these colonies, enacting his control and his ideology on these colonies, possibly even to create his own planet or government, separate from Earth. Now, is this a warranted fear? Maybe. But still, why would he feel the need to hide this? Could it be because the church that he represents, or is even the figurehead of, is so is staunchly anti-science or anti-cloning technology and anti-everything that's not just get to the stars and expand? Or could they know deep down that that's true? Could even members of the department that created human cloning, which come to note that human cloning is banned in real life because of something. I forgot what it was, unfortunately. I did not do a lot of research for this video. This is just, you know, a talking head piece. If you enjoyed the video, you want me to explain more upon this or any other topic, just, you know, like, follow, share it to your friends. You don't have to. Your presence is appreciated.